This is the Operations Committee, Subcommittee of the Board of School Directors of Upper Dublin School District. I am Vanessa Good. Mr. Shimilevsky is out of town, so it is Mark Sirota and myself tonight, and administrators here. I'm going to dive right into things. Do we have any announcements or communications, Mrs. Bray?
We do not this evening. Thank you.
Okay. We do have minutes from our meeting on May 18th, which if you have any comments or changes to let Brooke know. Otherwise, they'll move forward. And we will start then, I guess, on the first item on the agenda, which is ratification of contract and Direct Energy Business.
And I will take that discussion tonight instead of Mr. Lester. For the last few years, the School District of Upper Dublin has been involved with the Energy Consortium through Montgomery County IU. And we first focused our efforts on natural gas and have since locked in using an energy consultant, Amorex, as well as then bidding out the natural gas. This is for electricity. And we've been looking at it. I'm on the subcommittee, and I've invited Bob to join the subcommittee as well, which he's graciously agreed to do.
The RSVP, yes.
And we had a meeting about 6 weeks ago, and with the market being what it is, both globally and in the United States, it was decided it was a good time to look at the possibility of locking in for 3 to 5 years for electricity. And we've been monitoring it more closely since, well, last week. And it was suggested that we go ahead and lock in, and the document is included. But as the board members know and the superintendent, we need to usually act quickly on these type of things. You can't let them rest because they're very market sensitive. Right. So yesterday I went ahead and executed after the calculation of savings of $100,000 for the next 3 years. And the timing is good because if to take a look in 3 years instead of locking in for 5, not knowing what might happen in some of our buildings as far as improvements, and certainly at Sandy Run. So now this will need to be ratified by the board, but I wanted to bring it to committee first before it went to the board in July.
Okay. Questions?
I'm completely comfortable with ratifying that contract ahead and moving that forward, but I do have I think the chart inside is kind of fascinating, and I don't remember seeing electrical usage boiled down to, I assume that's kilowatt hours.
It is.
On the right, just as a lump sum per building per year. That might be an interesting thing to track. I mean, there's interesting stuff in here. Fort Washington is much higher than the other elementaries, for example. And I'm sure there are a variety of possible reasons for that, and I don't mean to surmise any reasons, but I think it might be an interesting thing to monitor and track. I am curious why the two buildings, which appear to be the high school and the middle school, are a different utility rate class than the others.
Do you know?
Usually it's based on demand. It's normally based on overall demand.
Okay.
And I would need to take out my notes to look at them because I've asked the same question between HG and GS before.
I know.
Yeah.
And what you just brought up is very interesting as far as electricity. We have done exactly what you were describing for years with natural gas,
Yeah.
or with heating. And in fact, we even had, we contracted with Aramark, as you may remember, for energy consulting.
Yeah.
But in Montgomery County, we've just never been that particular or haven't tracked it because for years and years, it was PECO. They were the only game in town, and so it didn't really matter. But we are starting to get into that more. And some districts are ahead of us as far as really knowing down to the kilowatt hour and being able to actually turn things off. It's called demand response, and actually earn money by shutting down the building or computers and HVAC. So we're continuing to try to control these costs in the best way we can. But with deregulation a few years ago, and then bidding it out with Direct Energy, and I don't remember the other companies that were in the group, we really did start to save additional money with electrical purchase.
I can answer. The utility class rate on here is actually based on the voltage that we're receiving.
okay.
Some schools are receiving lesser voltage, perhaps 480. The high school and middle school are receiving it at 13,000 volts, so it's a different voltage rate since we own the transformers.
That makes sense. HT is probably high tension.
High tension.
Yeah. All right, thank you.
With that, okay, thank you. We'll move that on. Item number 2, water service at Jarretttown.
Yes. Aqua was in to change the meters over the summer. There's a meter pit on Kenmare Drive that feeds the school. While they're working in the pit, our piping was cast iron. It was so rusted they weren't able to operate our valves, and it has the potential hazard to rupture at some point. So the recommendation from Aqua is to replace that water service. We brought Hirschberg Mechanical in, who is local. We're going to replace the cast iron, new valves, use copper piping so you shouldn't have this corrosion issue again. Their cost for the project was $7,625. The estimate is a bit old, but I spoke to them the other day, and they're still honoring their price.
Folks may not recall, but we had to do the same thing with the meter pit at Sandy Run Middle School a few years ago, and it's better to do it when school's out, and it's not really an emergency situation. We were able to work around timing for the students to be out, but that was a more expensive situation.
Too many times as they touch the pipe, something else crumbles they didn't expect, and I didn't want to do this, potentially have the water down for a day or so at an elementary school. So summer is the perfect time to do this work.
Utilities from many decades ago, like Thomas Fitz Electricity. Okay, well, I'm all right with that.
Yeah, and this is the kind of work that you don't know about until you dig into the ground and find it, right?
This was, they opened the pit and actually climbed down to operate the valves. We would have no business going down to that pit.
Right. So this wasn't on. I mean, it's $7,000, but it wasn't on the big capital projects list from 2014.
I don't believe it was.
Yeah.
I can confirm it was not.
Right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move that forward. Administration outbuilding repair.
Yes, we mentioned this before. There's one building that needs a new roof and perhaps some concrete work. We were looking to work with GKO Architects to help us draw bid specifications and to look at any potential structural issues that we're faced. So we'd like them to come in, take a look at this project. We want to make sure that the structure can be saved before we go out to bid to try to make any repairs. So they will bring a structural engineer in to evaluate everything that's there, then use their architects to draw up the specifications that we can place out to bid. GKO was the architect that we used for the last year's renovations of Thomas Fitzwater.
I was going to just ask if we've used them before.
And I've actually used them, or when I was in a previous district, and we had really good success with them for a smaller project again last summer. I would call attention to number 5, that we're not anticipating any land development, geotechnical, traffic studies or anything significant.
And I see the schedule suggests that the goal is to allow for construction to begin in fall 2017. Is that, a week, a month, a year? What kind of construction scope time-wise are we looking
This
at?
would probably be about a month's worth of work.
Okay.
It would be removing the existing roof. Okay. Removing the existing trusses and or rafters and bringing in new truss. We're looking at doing a prefabricated truss roof to save on cost.
I remember that, yeah. Okay. I'm good with that. Are you?
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, thank you. Replacement of Jarretttown toilet partitions.
Yes, we have one girls' room at Jarretttown. The toilet partitions are in poor condition, and there is no handicap stall. There's a space made. They created a space by taking apart the stall next to it and leaving the door off, which is not a good option at all.
No.
So Triad is a company that fabricates plastic partitions, so they'll stand up much better. They were looking at $4,500 to come in and install those toilet partitions, and they will create a new ADA space inside that bathroom.
we don't have that situation anywhere else?
No, I surveyed all the bathrooms around the district. This was the only one with that situation.
I'm good with that.
Okay.
And Mr. Sirota, you earlier asked about projects being on the 2014 capital improvement.
Yep.
I'm certain that bathroom renovations at the elementary school would be in general, but they would be much more
Right,
in-depth.
that would have been a big
Yes.
capital project kind of thing,
Right.
yeah.
And this is,
Sinks and fixtures and everything, right?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you for that. Next item, replacement of Thomas Fitz casework.
Yes, this is a project that started last year as the tile floors in the rooms are being replaced. The casework, the cabinetry in the back of the room is being replaced as well. This year we only have one room with casework in it where we're doing our tile work. And the casework in that room is in poor condition where the doors have come off the hinges. It's just open cabinets right now. We're working with Chris Jarvis, who performed the work last year. I was hoping to have the formal quote in front of me tonight. We know the pricing from last year will be in the $6,000 to $6,500 range.
Okay. Right now, are there more classrooms to be done in the future when we do flooring in the future? At
Yes, there is.
Thomas Fitz? Yeah. And they'll all have the same casework thing as
Yes.
well? Right. Okay.
Good with that?
Yep.
All righty. Yes, we'll move that forward. Thank you. Electronics recycling. That's a big deal.
Yes, earlier in the spring, you approved an obsolete equipment list for our old computers, monitors. Being that these are things that we cannot throw in the trash, we contract out to electronics recycling, where they will pay us for the computers. Some of the older laptops they'll give us money for, but they do charge us to get rid of the old CRT monitors, the old larger monitors, which we unfortunately have a lot of.
Yeah.
The company we've worked with in the past gave us the best price. Sycamore was the company that we've dealt with in the past, and they were going to give us about $2,200 for our inventory that we have of obsoleted computers. Most of them are old Dell desktop computers.
Do you happen to know what they do with them by any chance? Like they strip them down and recycle stuff? Or?
Yes, they'll recycle components where they can. Anything that can be refurbished and resold, they will do that. One thing they do provide is they will wipe the hard drives and provide us a
Oh, they will.
certificate that everything has been wiped and there is no school district information on any of the computers.
Where are those computers? Those computers are out of service now and stored
They're out of
somewhere?
service now. They're scattered throughout the district, mostly in storage rooms.
Okay. You good with that?
Yeah, so the discussion is really, should we go with Sycamore International, or is it, should we recycle these, or what's the question before us, really?
It's really not even so much of a question. We would not even bring this to the board. It was just, I think there's been some comments and questions about what we do with electronics at
Right.
previous meetings. This was more informational than anything
Gotcha.
else.
Great.
It's just to let you know that we do this in a systematic fashion. There have also been some, conversations about getting rid of items that have already been through the obsolete process. So this is more informational than anything else. We try to do this once a year, but sometimes it stretches into a couple of years.
Cleaning up valuable storage space right now.
I'll bet.
Right,
yeah.
right, right.
Well, I appreciate the informational item.
Thank you. Yes. Okay. Our last item here is update on Sandy Run Middle School project.
On June 8th, the first meeting of the Sandy Run Project Review Committee happened at Sandy Run. On the evening, it included, so the committee, all the information from that committee is on the website. Committee is made up of a cross-section of people from the school district, parents, community, township, commissioners, so a cross-section across the community, because we believe that the schools are an integral part of the community at large. The meeting consisted primarily, the major item at the meeting was a tour of the facilities so that everyone is on the same page about where we're starting. And there was some discussion after that. The next meeting is on June the 22nd. All of the meetings are open to the public. There is no community input. We ask that community input come either here or to our finance committee or to any of the legislative meetings or of course, feedback can always be given to the administration and the board through usual channels, and there's an email address listed on the website as well, specifically for this project. Certainly happy to entertain community input tonight on that item.
And the next meeting is.
Oh,
in
and thank you.
Cardinal.
Yes, all of the next, so there's 3 more scheduled meetings at the moment, June 22nd, July 12th, and August, I don't remember, 8th?
I believe it's the 8th.
Okay. We'll confirm that last date. And all of those meetings are scheduled to be here.
And there is an FAQ page. When we do receive emails from members of the public, we will respond to the email. Additionally, we will post the questions and responses on the FAQ page. We have not yet received any emails.
I'll add, and I said the meetings would be here, just to clarify, here, for those watching on YouTube, is in the Cardinal Room at the high school.
Okay.
Confirming it's Tuesday, August 8th.
Oh,
Thank you, Brooke.
okay. Good. Thank you. Okay, well, we have no transportation comments to have, so we will open the floor up to community input. If you wish, please come to the podium, state your name, where you live in the township, and you have 4 minutes to address the committee. Anyone interested?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Fanzon Plaskett. I'm a resident of Dublin. I'm parent of
Could you just speak a little,
sorry.
you can pull the microphone down to you.
Right into it so that
Yeah.
the television.
right into it. Can you
Yeah,
hear
there
me
you go.
good better?
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
my name is Fanzon Plaskett. So I'm a resident of Upper Dublin and parent of 2 Upper Dublin school students. One graduated from in 2013, and one is the class of 2020. So I'm also a marching band parent. So I participated and volunteer in almost all home football games and in almost all the band events. So I come to school a lot, and as a second full-time job, I'm a chemist working at Merck. So the reason I come here to speak to you is because of the Upper Dublin School District recycling. And I have talked to this to send an email to Dr. Deborah Willer and talk to Mr. Lester in person late last year. Since nothing has happened, I'm also, because I walk my dogs around the Thomas Fitzwater School every day, rain or snow. And I pick up trash every day, including recycles, and have no place to put. So I feel it's really my responsibility to speak to you again. And to me, the solution seems so simple, and the impact is so fundamental and so huge for all the children. And so if you can turn the page, I travel quite a bit for work and for family. And those pictures I took myself. So everywhere you go in the world, you saw those trash cans are paired. In Europe, on top of the Great Wall, and at Glenside, Wawa, at the Temple University, in all Merck facility, everywhere you go, please take a look at the trash can. They are paired. If you look at the Upper Dublin School District, Upper Dublin Township, they are all lone trash cans. Single, no recycle at all, okay? So what's the damage? So the reason I'm here is it hurts in those events looking at our children. They walk to the trash can. They don't even hesitate. They just put any trash in the single trash can you gave to them. So after 13 years, they don't even think anymore. We made it a habit. We teach them, we force them to not to think, not to make a choice. The solution is if you look at everywhere else in the world, the solution is so simple. It's just engineer control. If you gave them 2 trash cans, every piece of waste, they have to make a choice. What do? Do you feel really comfortable throw a empty water bottle into a landfill trash? Do you? Our children are. Please watch them at the lunchtime. And the second thing I want to say is our high school lunchroom. And look at the picture in there. And please go to the lunchroom. Every 10 feet, there's trash can. One most of the place. Some places are 2 trash can. And I've been traveling to most of the world Merck site cafeteria, and you go to all the larger facilities. There's no place like Upper Dublin with a trash can every 5-10 feet. Why are our kids so privileged to have a trash can right next to their hands? And the rest of the world, what do? We take our tray, we walk to the common receptacles, we make a choice, we put the right trash in the right place. So, what I want to say is, besides the engineer-controlled trash can, there should be also classroom curriculum, once or twice in the semester, and to teach the kids from the kindergarten, have them dump out of the trash, count the trash. At Merck, almost all the people are the college graduate and post-college graduate. Our baseline is about 80%. That means if you dump out any trash in a recycle, there's 20% wrong trash, and vice versa. So I bet you everything. If you teach your kindergartner once, they can do better than those PhDs. Okay? So what I want to say is that you have those powerful tools with a trash can or classroom, and you're sending out over 500, is 400 or 500, I don't know, kids to the world, to the society. Are they prepared? Do they have a common knowledge of how the material cycles? I asked my kids, they said no. So do they know where the plastic bottle coming from, where they're going? I'm sorry, I'm over time.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's all right. We were just saying if you're...
It's a small meeting.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm very passionate about this because I'm at a Thomas Face every day pick up a classroom. Over the winter, 3 other ladies walking the dog, fill a trash can. Teacher and the kids, when they're there, dumped all the landfill trash in there. Everything went down garbage. There's no concept anymore. So one of the kids will be our policymakers in the future. Do they have the open mindset? Do they have a basic knowledge? Do they have the open mind to learn the environment, the news research, and to do this at the minimum, to be a responsible citizen at your home? Put the right trash in the right place. Recycle.
Thank you. Can you spell your last name for me, please?
It's right on the.
It's on the front of the
it's on here?
Yep.
Oh, thank you. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. That's okay. We will see if there's anyone else who's interested in community input. If not, we'll close community input, and we can definitely have a conversation here. This is an interesting subject, and I have a lot of thoughts about it because I've had discussions over many years about it. I think maybe what we'll do is start with what our current procedures are for recycling in the district. Can you speak to that, Mr. Lester?
Yes, we do have single stream recycling in the schools, not outside at this time. We've been working, I'll continue with talking about what we do at the schools. Each classroom does have a normal trash can and a recycled trash can. Really, most of the products in our classroom should be recycled, since we're not allowing, really don't want food in the classrooms. Anything that should be thrown into the trash can should be some type of recycled product. So a majority should be. Problem is when we have contaminated, when the food does fall in with the recycle, we are required to pull it out. In the cafeterias, we do, you mentioned we do have many trash cans around. They are separate for recycling and for regular trash. We do have the blue cans throughout if you go through the high school, we do have blue cans throughout the school for our recycling needs. We have separate dumpsters outside, so when we do pull the cans, the custodians are supposed to place the recycled into the recycle dumpsters that we have. It gets picked up on a different schedule. Some of the issues that we do run into, I mentioned the contaminated trash. We've been working with Derek Durica at the township. That's been some of our discussions, especially during sporting tournaments. What we do. The recycled cans from outside, most have been pulled because almost every occasion after a sporting event, we end up throwing our recycling straight into the dumpster. The township's tried some different strategies, removing the amount of trash cans available, hoping people will carry more of their trash away from some of the parks. I don't know if that's working. I haven't heard any feedback from that yet. But our larger events, we definitely have had the difficulty where we end up throwing most of our recycle away because of cross-contamination. Currently, we use waste management. It is something worth reaching out and working with waste management on. We can look into it. They do have educational programs where they will send somebody out to pull they'll empty a trash can in front of the students, and they can go through about what is trash, what is recycling. I know people are trying to get to zero landfill in schools. Nobody's quite there yet because lack of composting issues. But majority of what we should be getting rid of should be going into the recycle containers.
Do we get any information from WM or elsewhere on relative total weight of recycling versus trash or anything like that?
No, we haven't gotten rid of total recycling numbers from them. They're just paying per dump is what they do. So they come out, most of the time it's 2 to 3 times a week for the recycling containers at the high school, once a week for the containers at the elementary schools. Most of the time what we're hearing from is we had somebody place something into the wrong dumpster, and they refused to take the load till we empty it, and we empty the container and straighten out the mess.
By hand, presumably.
By hand, yes.
Yeah.
Which mostly happens here at the high school with the proximity to the dumpsters to the parking lot. Somebody will driving by and will throw something into the wrong dumpster.
Are the dumpsters well marked?
Yes.
Right. And as it pertains to curriculum, Dr. Wheeler, do you have any comments about that?
I believe that we address it in the curriculum, whether we have dedicated units or not. I can certainly look into that. I cannot answer that right now, tonight.
Other than...
It is an operations committee meeting, but that does sound like a good topic we can bring across to the education committee. The idea of paired dumpsters, sorry, of paired trash cans as an educational tool, I think is a great one. I think we should, that there are not separate recycle bins other than dumpsters outside, I think is already a problem, but doing it as paired devices, I think works really well. I know when I worked at Penn for 20 years, walking outside a lot, there are usually double or triple units depending on the unit for type of recycling and well marked, and I would just think that having them both there all the time when you're going to throw something out, it's not over here or over there, they're both here and you have to choose, would be a pretty compelling method for minimizing recycling contamination. Things like, it's not recyclable because it has a little bit of oil on it, and that kind of thing is a harder thing to put on a small sign, but that's the curriculum part, I think. But I like the idea of talking to WM about whatever education programs they have and working something into the curriculum. I would strongly encourage us to have in the future, as we replace these things, I'm sure they don't last forever, to replace them with paired devices, I think is a really good idea. Inside and outside.
Go ahead, Doug.
Can you go to the mic just so anyone watching can hear you?
The paired trash can, in terms of the opening and design, engineer control, that's what I meant. It's the most effective way of doing it.
Meaning the sort of slot for paper and the small hole for bottles.
And so people know it's very intuitive. Right now we have a wide opening and everything just flies right in.
I want to talk with our content coordinators. As you know, we have rewritten the science curriculum within the last 2 years, and there's more. So I don't want to say that we are not doing it, but I don't want to misspeak. So I will be back. I will give a report back.
I think there are some forms of it. It's an interesting conversation because when we built this high school and we took down the old high school, we actually paid a premium in order to separate out the refuse so that metals went to certain recycling places. I mean, we spent a lot of time and energy putting thought into that. This is a gold LEED building, and I don't think it's quite been forgotten, but I don't think it is something that I think we could continually revisit and perhaps, get recommendations and talk to WM. I think it would be interesting to talk to them about it. Go ahead.
Two things. We actually used to have very active Go Green committees and some competitions in the elementary school. And as far as trying to watt watchers shutting off electrical, which is not exactly what you're describing, but discussion of recycling. Even there was some discussion of going to see the single stream and how things are separated. But one of the things we are in a reality right now, we have bid our trash removal so we can work with the company, but I'm not sure how much we can really accomplish in the short term. But the points, we bid our trash removal with the county, and just so that you know, again, at one of those business administrators meetings, we've actually had people come in and talk to us about doing more aggressive recycling. So if it's something we really want to pursue, we can write the specifications to incorporate that down the line.
Something we should consider. The other thing to note is whatever the district does is completely separate from whatever the township does. So the township puts out, they have a whole different process, and they don't get involved in collecting any of and we don't have any involvement in that. But that doesn't mean we couldn't, take charge of our own and look into things like that.
Or even look into working with them on it, further conversations with Derek and others, to have even just a common outdoor receptacle between township facilities and school district facilities would probably go a long way to just sort of training people to see them and be aware of them. So if, where there are opportunities, they might as well be seized.
Well, I thank you for this. We'll get back to you on some information regarding what's going on with the students. And perhaps at another meeting we can also come back and say what we found out from WM about what we can do internally.
Yeah, and I'll just, for everyone's sake, of course, there really are two pieces to this. One is the operations committee. How do we do recycling? One is curriculum, which is not really for this committee. The right people aren't in the room. We can certainly bring it to them.
Yeah.
You should certainly feel free also to go to an education committee meeting and make a more curriculum-focused comment about that. The right
Absolutely.
People do hear it.
Yeah, and we can have conversations about that. I don't...
Just phasing in of new style cans would be something else we would have to look at. What the costs of the cans are going to be, how we can phase these in.
Yeah,
and so
I'd be interested to hear, how big an effort would that be in terms of dollars, time, etc.
And certainly I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. I just want to say there's really no reason for those heavy duty liners. Those liners cost a lot. I knew that, and those can completely offset the trash can cost, and in very short time.
Interesting.
Something to look into.
Well, certainly also as we move forward with Sandy Run, whatever takes place there, we can look at, options for doing that also in a much more complete way.
Sure.
How waste there is handled. Okay, well, I don't have any other. I don't think I have any other comments or questions.
No, I don't.
Mark, you?
No.
Dr. Wheeler?
No.
Okay, so if that is all we are going to adjourn. Our next Operations Committee meeting will be Thursday, July 20th, and it'll be here in this room. So we are adjourned.